Alright, welcome back to the shop, everybody. Today we're going to try to get the joists or the supports for the ceiling and roof cut out. What we're going to cut that out of is this here 10 by 7¼ by 1 inch thick pine. And hopefully I'll be able to get quite a few out of each single board, because I should be able to get at least, I think, 8 out of each board, and I've got a few boards down there to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these to height, as well as just about to where they're supposed to be at for the length. Then I need to cut a notch in each one of them about yay big for the wires that will be going down that strip like I talked about in a couple of videos ago. So I'm going to go ahead and get on that. I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of that process. Now what that leaves me with is a nice little place to run wires all the way to the very back of the trailer. I also went ahead and cut all of the roof ones to be 59 3/4 wide. That way they would fit right where they needed to fit. Now originally I was going to have the space between rafters to be 8 inches all the way down, and even less on the curve. However, I'm going to go ahead and make these to be right about a foot difference. That way I can reduce how many joists I actually have to have by like 2 or 3. Now because I cut the little wire area out before I placed it, I went ahead and marked a little L on all of the one sides, so that when it came to actually cutting it to exact length, I always took off of this side so that all of these would line up properly and you wouldn't have some that were a little bit offset. As you see, I do need to turn a couple of these boards around because they're not going the right direction. However, what this is right here is for the fan location. So I have a 14 by 14 hole here where the fan will get set into, which gives me a decent distance between the fan start and the front of the TV. It should also not interfere with the door panel when it is opening and closing as well. And if it does, well, I'll just have to deal with that when the time comes. But because this panel here for the top ends like right there, I'm going to actually give this more than a foot in between this board and this board. That way I have something to screw to when it comes to this panel here. I can just simply screw up into this side and screw into this board here on the next panel. Now all of this is going pretty decent until I got to the very back. Let me show you. Okay, so when it came to putting in the roof panel, now mind you, none of this is glued or screwed down. I'm just dry fitting it all right now. But when I came to putting this panel in, I changed it out a couple of times because I thought that maybe the panels weren't properly distant or properly cut from end to end. Because, well, as you see, there's a fairly large gap right here. And it gets smaller down to nothing. And over here, you can see there's not really that much of an issue. So I thought that it was the panel. However, once I got my square out here and leveled it out to the ceiling there, you can see that there is definitely an issue. Now, I thought maybe this board had a bow in it since I put it up. However, it doesn't. It maybe has a little dinky one, not that much of one. Because that right there is about a 1/2 of an inch, and that is not good. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to cover that up, because unfortunately it's not something that I can square out now. It's just way too far into the project, and I think I know where it's messed up. By the time that I get the file on and everything like that on there, it shouldn't matter that much. But it is going to be something that I'm going to have to pay attention to when I'm putting the doors on and building that. As well as it's just going to be accentuated once it comes to putting the panels on for the front of the trailer. Because I have that curve in it, it's just going to be more complicated. Well, I found out where that gap is, and it is actually right here. The whole thing kind of bows. Evidently, when I pulled in that wall, it pushed the top of the wall out, which unfortunately makes it so that the wall ends up screwed up somewhere. Now, I could even it out back here, have this like this, but that pulls the front of it away from the wall, which means that it wouldn't be glued on all of the way onto the little lip. So what I think I'm gonna do, because I already have to put a board back here anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and call this good, and I'm gonna even it up for the rest of the trailer. But when I went and put all 4 pieces in, it didn't seem like that was going to be an issue whatsoever. So I'm just not going to really worry about that. I've stressed out about this little issue way more than I probably ever should have. And it's been quite a few weeks since I actually worked on this thing. And honestly, I just want to get this ceiling done here. So that's what we're going to work on today. Not sure how much of it I'm going to get done, because I will have to have some help to cut up those. I'm not going to be able to insulate the whole entire top or anything like that, but I do need to be able to cut those at least semi-straight so that I can evenly space out the pieces that go in. Because if I have that cut, you know, I'll still have to cut littler pieces because those obviously don't go 5 feet across, they're 4 feet. But anyways, so that is what I'm going to work on today. So I am going to go ahead and clean off all of this junk here. And I'm going to get the PL Premium out and start doing some glue ups and screwing the joists into place. Alright, so that one that I just put in was the one for the fan and stuff. And I'm going to be able to cut and router out the full area for the fan. That's why I didn't pre-cut them. But now I've got one more that goes all the way across here. And I think that actually gets doubled up because the next layer that will start to curve goes underneath that one as well. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to double check that, and if so, then I need to connect the 2 of them together like I did for the fan holder up there. Now, earlier I said that there might be a spot where I might have to cut some of the ceiling of it because there might end up being a gap because, you know, those end pieces aren't straight, right? So I could have done it that way. However, I think I'm just going to go with covering it with the same thing that I'm going to cover the center area with for the lighting, because as you can see, there is a bit of a crack in between them just because, well, nothing in this is square, including those panels aren't cut square either. So, you know, I'm doing with what I can. I should have done things a little bit differently when I put in the back galley wall. So like I think when I straightened out the galley wall, it pushed both sides or one side out at that point. So everything is even more out of square than what it would have been originally. I'm gonna go ahead and use the small router right there and staple all the way around it, just so that the PL Premium isn't completely dry by the time that I do that. All right, now that I got sawdust quite literally everywhere, I got that cut out, so I'm happy about that. I tested it, and as you saw, everything pretty much fit in there as it's supposed to. Now that second piece that you saw me put in there, the white piece, it actually gets cut down to be the proper size for that. Once the trailer is completely done and everything, that's when I'll do that. But today's progress, I am happy with it. I'm not so happy with the upcoming project of getting the wood to bend around that curve. What I think I'm actually going to end up doing is getting some different wood, some more expensive wood, probably some Baltic birch ply, because I think that's going to bend easier than this stuff does. But I'm going to talk to the group and see what they think. By the way, if you're wondering what group I'm talking about the Facebook group that I am on, which is of course always linked down below, so that you guys can get help if you're going to be building one of these, or just see what's going on in the group and see all the really cool trailers everybody else is building. So yeah, I got most of the ceiling done today. I'm happy about that. There is a few places that weave a little bit, like right here. However, I think once I get that center piece put on here and covering it, you won't ever notice any of that, especially once the whole front is covered up and it's kind of dark in there anyway. So yeah, I'm happy with the progress that I got done today, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to make more progress in the coming days. So yeah, of course, make sure that you guys subscribe, hit that bell so that you're notified whenever I put out another video, because I am definitely not a regular uploader on this channel. So make sure that you do so, and as always, until next time, you have a good one.